From the center of the galaxy, this is Force Center, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself, answering questions. I'm Ken Knapsack.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I'm happy to answer some questions live or in the future if you're watching this later.
That's right. You have the ability to watch this on demand. It's here on the YouTube channel or in the podcast form, which we get up later in the day. And it's been our second week of this grand experiment, Joseph, of going live to answer questions.
Yeah, it was really fun last week. I'm really excited to see how it goes this week. What we've been doing is we put out a call to patrons on Patreon for questions. And to give us something big to start off with, we tackle one of those questions, get some of your opinions in the chat, and then take more questions as they come in on the chat. Like Ken put in the chat, super chats are, of course, welcome. We're trying to keep old Force Center afloat in a difficult time for everyone. So any super chats are greatly appreciated, and we'll be sure to get to those super chat questions. But all questions are welcome, and we'll try to get to them all. We'll try to answer them all like they're Pokemon.
And to acknowledge, if you're watching live here, or David McKay says that Blur sounds like Ken. Yeah, I'm having some internet issues, the sense of like the last episode of Force Center was still uploading to the StreamYard cloud. It just uploaded, so hopefully my internet will return. But as we always say, the internet is it's fickle. It's fickle.
It is.
Anyways, yeah.
Yes. And our news show was about some of the great quotes that have been coming out from Daisy Ridley and George Nolfi, the new screenwriter for the new Jedi Order, about the inherently political nature of Star Wars. So we struggled to contain ourselves, but we wrapped up in time.
Yes, indeed. And I'm sorry. All right. I got to release the fact that I might be a blurry, speaking, pixelated monster, and just keep going. Anyways, we have a great question, our title question, our thumbnail question. Joseph, take it away. I can't wait to dive into this one.
Yeah, this one comes to us from, like I said, patron on Patreon, Chris King. Thank you, Chris, for the question. Here's what Chris has to say. In recent episodes of Force Center since the holidays, Joseph has alluded to how George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life is a non-Star Wars character that very much embodies what it means to be a Jedi. Who are some other characters from films, television shows, books, or other media stories that you think also fit this mold? Thank you, Joseph, Jen, and Ken, for all you do to create such a positive, joyful, and authentic Star Wars community. And may the Force be with you. I love this question because it just this is one of those things that it just comes to my mind when I'm watching other things of the various Star Wars ideals, but in particular, Jedi-like choices. So it's a great way to talk about Star Wars by talking about things that aren't Star Wars. So, Ken, what's your big picture thought on this question? Is this an exciting question to you?
It is. It actually is a preview of our discussion tomorrow that comes out in the news episode, looking at those George Nolfi and Daisy Ridley quotes and kind of talking about Star Wars and politics and how it kind of actually shows up in the stories and how and the whys. And sometimes it's overt, sometimes it's not. So this connects with what Star Wars is really about, beyond the pew, pew, pew and the zip, zam, zoom. And I always love getting an improv game worked into it. I love, because I don't think growing up, I would have thought of that. Star Wars is Star Wars. Indiana Jones is Indiana Jones. And they're all their different characters in different worlds, and their actions don't connect. Their actions very much connect. So it's fun to think about that. And with some of my answers, maybe stretch it a little bit, but it's fun.
Yeah. I think so. The George Bailey is definitely one of my answers, and it's what kicked this off. George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. I saw It's a Wonderful Life when I was a kid, and I think I remembered some of like the, for lack of a better word, the sci-fi stuff, the space fantasy of Clarence and his wings, and getting to see your life. And then when I rewatched it again as an adult, as I think many of us probably have that experience watching it young, and then watching it when you're older, and like, God damn, George Bailey's life. that film goes real dark, it goes real low, so it can go real high at the end with the original GoFundMe moment where all of his he realizes the riches he has in community and kindness. But I think watching it as an adult and seeing that the specific idea that George Bailey craves adventure and excitement. He craves going out and seeing the world and accomplishing all these kind of big, shiny things, and that he ends up embracing that he makes the personal sacrifice to help others and to build community. And I think by the end feels joy and feels like, hey, I went on the greatest adventure by basically helping where I'm needed. In particular, like George Bailey really reminds me of some of the Rebels ideas with Kanan and Ezra about
Mm.
find where you are needed. And even though Luke is such a central figure in Star Wars, in a surface level reading of the trilogy can be very dynastic. It's about Luke Skywalker, but even Luke's story is he doesn't triumph from being the most powerful Jedi with the most midichlorians and being the most exciting. He succeeds because only he could get through to his father, at least
Mm.
partially. So it is also like a story about the immediate community you're in being important to the bigger picture as well. So
Mm.
that was where some of those George Bailey thoughts come in, and all of his speeches.
Mm.
Potter is he's partially because he's the one holding back the dark side. It's not the balance of the force; it's the balance of Bedford Falls that he's holding in balance, and he keeps talking about it. How Potter is the Sith. He's greedy. He just wants more and more and more. And Bailey's like, I'd like to leave town, but my one little lone lightsaber, banking and loan is the only thing keeping Bedford Falls in balance by keeping the Sith from
Mm.
greedily taking everything.
Mm. Mm.
Anyway,
Mm.
I like It's a Wonderful Life. It's funny too.
It's great. I have not. I have not seen it in decades. In decades. I got to correct that. I got to correct
Mhm.
that because it was just something that was so present in our lives growing up, which is part of the story of the film. As I know you've been sharing too, is just like the film wasn't the big cultural impactful hit that we all make it out to be. So we're part of the generation that had it on Saturday afternoons in the background. But I love everything you're saying there. I
Mhm.
love the big thing about just the character that eventually learns to plug in where help is needed. That's important.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm. So Ken, we got some great comments, some Game of Thrones shout outs
Mm.
already.
Mm.
Uh, from Westeros, I think Jon Snow would be a candidate based on his actions in the finale. I think that's great. Uh,
Mm.
Marjo32, Barristan Selmy, the Bold would be a Jedi if we were talking a Song of Ice and Fire. So where do you go? Do you go first, Ken, to your beloved Game of Thrones?
I made a choice to not go to Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. It's very easy to do so, and in the past we've actually done that a lot. So maybe one day we will again. I went to technically 4 characters. All right, you got to go with me on these. I'm just going to list them, and I'm going to list them, Joseph. And maybe you can ask me where we should go on these. I'm going to go with Ford Prefect from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, particularly Most Def's version in the film from 2005, a film I love. I'm a big fan of that film. Yeah, it's a larger conversation about the film. But Douglas Adams had some involvement in some of the big decisions that people were like, why was that there? Before he passed, he had made those calls. I love that. Going to my precious Young Guns franchise, Billy the Kid, which is
Mm.
okay. And then I'm going to Martin Blank, John Cusack's character from Gross Point Blank.
Mm.
And then I'm throwing in slightly, but I think I'd rather talk about Martin Blank. I'm going back to 2005 as well with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Harry Lockhart, Robert Downey Jr.'s character from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, all showing a little Jedi in every one of their decisions.
Okay, it's been too long since I've seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang to have any sort of a good analysis of that one.
Mhm.
But I'm very interested in Ford Prefect.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel are Ford Prefect's Jedi traits? Make the Jedi case for Ford.
Yeah, I think he is a little bit of a Jedi in hiding. This is a post Order 66 Jedi. This is a Jedi that is going around the galaxy. He is plugging in a little bit where he wants. I'm not talking about the Ford that was hiding out on Earth for a long time, but this is the Ford that goes into a bar and everyone goes, "Hey, he's there." So he's a little like what we thought Obi-Wan might have been. The Kenobi series shed a little different light on it. And he is out there on the ground. His feet are on the ground, or sometimes in space, and he knows the way around, and he knows what works, and he knows where people need help, and he knows, he knows where the problems are. Is he always going to help? No, no. I think this is someone who could maybe even be more of a Jedi. But I was just trying to think of a little outside the box, and it's a little bit of that Kenobi factor. He's good in a bar, and therefore he can connect.
You know what? I like this. I like that we are extending not just to people whose entire life and dogma are Jedi, but have moments of Jedi. And I will agree with you. When we meet Ford Prefect, what he displays is the two great Jedi traits that Yoda talks about of knowledge and defense. He understands the galaxy, understands what's actually going on, and he decides to defend not the entire Earth, but at least Arthur Dent. From the very mechanized, encrusted forces of the galaxy that are determined to destroy the Earth.
Well, and you could argue too, much like Qui-Gon shows up to save Anakin, but not destroy the entire industry that Anakin was trapped in. Where you could question a little bit, and there's bigger things at play. Where he's here for Ford, he's connected with Ford. He feels with Arthur. He feels as though Arthur has a bigger purpose. Eat the peanuts. We're gonna go on up.
Yeah, and I mean, his job is knowledge, right? To write for the Hitchhiker's Guide.
Literally, yeah.
I did not come here to fight Vogons. Just drink your beer, Arthur. Yeah, that is that's really, really great. Really great. Now, the other one that I definitely need to ask you about your reasoning is I love Grosse Point Blank, and he definitely goes on a journey where he questions his life choices. Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about sort of a transformation into more of a Jedi-like philosophy?
He reminds me of a lot of the stories we see, or even some of the stories we want. I don't think Jad Nanawood, I don't think his story is done yet. Hopefully, not just talk about it in a season 2, but like just, if the character exists in our minds. It's what I wanted Jad to be. And I don't mean that about like I love the show, but like, hey, he was this, and now he became this, and he's going to learn that this is wrong, and he's going to do something on the other side. And we don't have that ending yet. With the character of Martin Blank, he didn't start off being a cold-blooded assassin for hire. He didn't start that off. He was a lost kid. He had some skills. He got into the military, an order that has a grand purpose that is always not often aligned with that purpose in terms of what happens. And he lost himself in it, and he disappeared, and he was in hiding, and no one has seen him. Martin Blank. Well, God, what we predicted so many things for you, and you just did that. And as he describes in the film, the Shakabuku moment, and you got Pete Townsend's "Let My Love Open the Door" playing in the background. Great song, I love it. He finds there's value, and he connects again. And I think there's still room for him to go be more positive. Not unlike Din Djarin going, I only want to take good contracts. I'm not saying he's going to become a good assassin. But there's still a journey forward with that character. And by the way, I'm not advocating for Grosse Point Blank 2 30 years later, but I don't know, maybe. But you know what I mean? So so it's transformative. It's someone going, I was on a better path. I let that path kind of destroy me, and I used my powers for bad. And now I can be something more.
I think that's all great. Plus, all Jedi famously want to kill Dan Aykroyd, right?
Popcorn. Are there meetings? No meetings.
That's a great film. It's been too long since I've seen
Love it.
A lot of other suggestions coming in, trying to pull up a couple as we were talking here. Our friend Maddie Gunner says Heath Ledger's character from A Knight's Tale, a young man born into poverty with dreams of being something more, and in the end becomes a symbol of hope for people that weren't born into nobility. I assume that's a great one because I haven't seen that one.
I haven't either. Sometimes that gets people angry at me. But
speaking of something I want to watch, Uncle Iroh from Avatar: Last Airbender. I've never heard anything but love and praise of Last Airbender, and one of these days I will make time to watch it all. Even more coming in, so feel free to star a few. I have 2 others that I want to share. Technically 3, because it is a topic du jour this week. It would be my answer anyway. But the Captains America, both of them that we've got to see wearing the mantle of Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson, at least in the MCU. I think the Steve Rogers character, man, I love the first Avenger. It's one of my very,
Mm.
very favorite MCU films, maybe one of my favorite films. I know sometimes people feel like the CGI doesn't hold up or whatever, but man, the philosophy holds up. I don't like bullies. Do you want to kill Nazis? No, this isn't about anger. I want to defend people. I want to be a shield when somebody is hurting someone else. I want to stand up. Even the first scene that leads to his catchphrase, "If I can do this all day,"
Mm.
it's bullies talking over news reports that
Mm.
he gets in a fight with.
Yeah.
As much as he is the scrawny guy who wants to contribute, there's no sense of like, I need to do this for my vanity. It is entirely about being a shield to help defend people. And then I
Mm.
think the arc of his MCU trilogy is all about him having extremely Qui-Gon Jinn moments of, I would like to follow the rules of the organization, but the organization is now not doing the thing
Mhm.
that the organization purports to do, which is help people, which is leave no one behind, which
Mm.
is react to dangers at the appropriate time, not preemptively murder anybody who might be a problem later. So, I
Yeah.
mean, the first film is Steve Rogers defies the army. The second film is Steve Rogers defies Shield. The third film is Steve Rogers defies the entire American government in an effort to do what is morally correct.
Mm.
He's a very Qui-Gon Jedi.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into too many details about the new film in case people haven't seen it. But I will say that as in other storytelling with Sam Wilson, they really lean into this great story of his journey, starting with being a counselor who would always prefer to de-escalate.
Mhm.
And I think the Falcon and Winter Soldier television show, which people have real mixed opinions on, he faces like lots of darkness and lots of reasons that things shouldn't work out, and says, but I'm just going to keep trying.
Mm.
It seems like he has that real sense of Jedi hope of like, you should always go toward the light
Mm.
and hope that it can work out and do your best.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great answer. Yeah, I gotta watch the first of it. Does Joe Johnstone, right? Directing it?
Yep. The very first one. It's so good. It's just like the dialogue is so
Mhm.
crisp and the
Mm.
philosophy is so clear.
Yeah, I have to watch. Yeah, that film. Even though I always say, "Hey, I'm not super invested in the MCU," I for a long time didn't miss any of them, but I had missed that one and Thor because that just was the pop culture world told you they weren't good, and I just fell for that. Where I just stopped. Okay, I guess that's it. I got to push past that. I got to push past that.
Very Star Wars connected movie with Joe Johnston.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And other people are enjoying the Sam Wilson and the Steve Rogers Star Wars in a Galaxy. Marcus and McFeely hit the spot. If anybody doesn't know, that Marcus and McFeely are the screenwriters who wrote the Captain America films and several of the Avengers films. And Russo Brothers, hey, they did a great job. Marcus and McFeely are the secret sauce, in my opinion. They're incredibly sharp and specific in their storytelling. Do you see, as I was going on and on about the Captain's America, did you see any other that you wanted to highlight, Ken?
Yeah. Bringing in extra cheddar feels like Ke Huy Quan's character from character Wayman and Everything Everywhere All at Once, very much as the Jedi spirit. I would agree with that in passing. It's a movie I haven't sat down to watch yet, but I've seen a lot of it. In the house, I would agree with that, and also celebrating Ke Huy Quan is something we love around here. This one, I think everyone is waiting for you to talk about Dale Cooper, Joseph, but Dale Cooper, MC, Mr. C, Dougie is a light, dark, and the Bendu all smashed into one. I'll let you answer that, but Brett Bum standing by. I think that this one, think about this one a lot. Some characters jump to mind are Frodo, after the ring destroyed, Gandalf and Aragorn are all great canons from Middle Earth. Yeah, and I say I'm not bringing up Game of Thrones. Lord of the Rings today. I just have in the past, but yeah, I think it's that myth, the connections there. Game of Thrones a little bit murky. If so, the Barristan Selmy one. There's some other great answers. Arya Stark might be more venturous than anything, but I think at the end of the day, would be a Jedi. Jon Snow as well, absolutely. Many great choices.
Yeah. I think I think probably Jedi would frown on listing the people that you must murder before going to bed.
A little bit.
Probably. Adventure, excitement, death lists. Jedi
Yeah,
craves not these things.
yeah.
Is yeah, yeah. Ari is amazing.
Love
Yeah.
Ari Star. Love Ari Star. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So my other one and my last one is Dale
Mhm.
Cooper from Twin Peaks. So I will try to keep this relatively spoiler free, and I'll try to keep it short because I know not everybody is a big fan of Twin Peaks. I'm so grateful for our Force Center fans who are Twin Peaks fans. So Twin Peaks has 2 seasons back in the 90s, and then 25 years later, a third season that came out in 2017. I have been rewatching all of them to celebrate the life and the legacy of the wonderful David Lynch. The show was co-created by David Lynch and Mark Frost. I feel like Mark Frost doesn't always get as much credit as he should, and I think he is the co-creator of Dale Cooper, and Lynch's unique vision makes the show very special. But Mark Frost is in there too. Man, I love Dale Cooper, and I think I can say this without spoilers. I feel like Dale Cooper is a tragic Jedi who his heart is so in the right place and he makes some wrong choices. But partially because his heart is so in the right place. The way I love looking at this character of Dale Cooper, if you've even seen just a couple episodes of the original Twin Peaks, Dale Cooper is a person who has both great intuition and great precision and control. He's
Mhm.
charming because he has all these habits that he falls into a very specific rhythm, and he's trying to deal with the horror of the world by being the best shot
Mhm.
possible, by knowing the most, by being super organized and super detailed. He likes his bacon super crispy. He's like very controlled and precise. And then on the other side, he's very intuitive and dreamy. And throughout the whole show, including season 3, when he allows himself to be purely intuitive, he succeeds. Uh, but there's all these great story points where he's afraid of losing someone or he's afraid of failing, and the controlling side of his personality comes out and tries to fix something that maybe
Mhm.
can't entirely be fixed. So I feel like he's this fascinating study in like a Jedi who maybe with their heart entirely in the right place gives into their fear, doesn't even fall to the dark side, but just tries to control something and hold it too tight instead of just like meditating, listening to the force and going, it's really sad that that thing happened, but I couldn't stop it and I need to accept it. And now I need to go on to this other moment that is in the present that I can do something about.
Mhm.
So there's my
That's
Cooper
it.
dance. Man,
That's a great dance. Great
I
dance.
love Special Agent Dale Cooper and how complex he is.
I love it. I think the people wanted that answer. You delivered. I love that. That was great. My final one is Billy the Kid as portrayed in the Young Guns movies, Young Guns 1, 2, and maybe one day 3. We'll find out. By Emilio Estevez off of John Fusco's script. And look, in real life, I've read a lot about the real life Billy the Kid. You know, like with a lot of things, complicated, real, criminal, bad, whatever. Not as good as you want him to be. All those kind of wonderful things, right? I'm talking about the films. This is someone who is branded, eventually branded as an outlaw, branded as a criminal. But you have to ask who is branding him those
Mm.
titles. And when you really break it down, he is an outlaw. He is a renegade. He is a criminal. And a lot of his energy is used to breaking down those systems that are affecting and harming the world around him. I think of Young Guns 2. There's a great scene with James Coburn. It's one of my favorite moments. But he used to be their ally, but now as one of the big ranchers and farmers in the land, he's taken power. He has become power, and he thinks he's on the good side, and he thinks these rapscallion former renegades are the problem. But as Alan Ruck's character Henry William Fench points out, you took a lot of farms, Mr. Chisholm. You took my farm. It's this great scene where he finally breaks. He's a little bit of the emperor, James Coburn here. Yeah, my fan. Love it. You think you're the scourge of New Mexico? Well, by God, I am New Mexico. And that turns the big moment where Pat Garrett goes against him, switches sides, becomes the sheriff. that eventually would allegedly take him down, and especially Young Guns too, but especially the whole thing. It is a story of people on the bottom fighting the powers that are keeping them there. And Billy the Kid, not perfect, not saying he finished Jedi school, but he's fighting for the right side. You just have to find it. There
Well,
you go.
now I want to watch that film, and I'm going to hear Ian McDermott's delivery on "I am New Mexico." My Twin Peaks fellow Will Dixon says, "Right on." I hope that was about my Cooper commentary, because man, I love sharing the thoughts with everybody about Twin Peaks. Lord Vader says, "I finished Twin Peaks just 2 weeks ago. My mind was blown. Cooper is a great and very interesting choice. Love it. Yeah, I think it is a." I continue to be fascinated by the connections with Lynch and Lucas. I feel like a lot of what Twin Peaks is dealing with, particularly the first 2 seasons, is a kind of a duality that is very light side, dark side of the Force. And Lynch and Lucas have very similar philosophies about love and fear and community, just expressed incredibly differently. It is really like the project where you get, we're going to give 2 people the same sentence to start the story and then see how it goes. They tell such a philosophically similar story in such different ways. It's really beautiful. Also want to highlight this from Lord Vader, who says, first time catching a live stream. I love to listen to you guys. I have some rough mental problems lately, and your lighthearted conversations make my dark days a bit lighter. We really appreciate that, Lord Vader, and are extremely happy that we could make a difference, even a small one.
No, absolutely. I'm glad you're here, Lord Vader, which is not often said in Star Wars, but we mean it here. Yeah, some other great choices here. Brian Babcock said, "What about Chapter 6, Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2?" Absolutely. Arthur Morgan, if you play and here's the thing, those games, you can play them in different ways. Every time I've played the game, I end up with 100% good morality, or whatever it is. I max out that. I go around helping, if I can avoid it. Occasionally you'll walk into a Valentine and you'll get in a fight in a bar that you wanted to avoid, but you can't. There's that. But yes, the transformation, the change of Arthur Morgan, not even the change, what he knows is right, comes through. God, it's a great game. I mean, I still tell people that game is my favorite movie, but also there's a point in the game where I started bawling the first time I played it. It's so good. So good.
Man, I enjoyed the first one so much that someday when I have time to become lost, I will play the second one.
Yeah. A lot of people wondering if Baymax. I know the character, I know the film from Big Hero 6, but solid Von Baco. It counts. If you say it counts, it counts.
Yeah.
Rick Jones says E.T.
Love it.
Maybe literally. JFB says Jedi Master Ted Lasso, making that a Star Wars name. Love that there. Go
Ken,
ahead.
Are you an X-Files person? Have you ever watched X-Files? Because JMB says Jedi Master fucks Mulder. He wants to believe.
Familiar. I saw the movies more than the show, which is weird to say. But that tracks. That tracks for me. Both of them, Mulder and Scully.
Yeah,
Jedi
I mean,
team.
I think the Jedi do want the truth, and he is often against trying to expose organizations that are, hoarding knowledge and power for their own greedy and manipulative and controlling ends, and he wants to expose that. So, yeah. Don't think he's following the whole Jedi attachment thing.
No.
With his Scully relationship. Hey,
little Rail Avaros. He's Rail Avaros.
He's Rail Avaros. Yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? One of the things that amuses me, I very much love living in the neighborhood of Hollywood, and sometimes just to go to my local record store, I get to walk on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and the Scully and Mulder's stars are right next to each other, with one other star in between them, as if to keep them apart.
Who's the star in between?
Oh, is that an old famous George Burns? George Burns is
The George Bush. Okay, that's amazing.
Blocking the sexual tension on Hollywood Boulevard between Mulder and Scully.
Hey, God, it's me, George Burns, keeping you apart. Salad Von Baker with a very generous super chat says, now my person who I think could be a Jedi wasn't a fictional character, but was real. And in my opinion, showed the traits of a wise Jedi Master. Mr. Rogers. Absolutely. I think that's a great answer. That's a great answer. And kind of a character. That's a character, but it's a real person and a real character.
I'm trying to remember the name of the great documentary that came out in 2018, 19, somewhere in that ballpark. Definitely pre-pandemic. It's 2018 because I remember telling someone else at the theater that they should check out Solo. There was a detail in that documentary about how, he wasn't this flawless person who had no anger. He just found ways to deal with it. And there's family members talking about how he used a puppet at the dinner table to say his angry things. I just love that sort of Jedi story of like, it isn't that anger doesn't exist. It's that you shouldn't make choices in anger. You know?
So Mr. Rogers and Padme connected.
To be angry is to be human. Get a puppet. Get a hand puppet and have them say the angry things.
Got Anakin at the Jedi Temple. Really upset.
He's holding me back.
Ken Bloom is here, both the super chat and a suggestion. Both Ernie and Bert are Jedi there. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Ken Bloom super chat here. Was I dreaming? Did we actually rank Star Wars figures? We did. Check out our Star Wars rank from last week. Me and Joseph and Ken Bloom ranking our favorite of the original Kenner 96 figures. So great stuff there. Kermit the Frog. Everyone thinks Kermit's a Jedi.
He's got a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I mean, he really does. He's just trying to hold it all together.
Yeah. Yeah. Lauren Roma, Maddie Gunner, Kermit the Frog. I could see that. Eli at Star Wars in the Galaxy said, speaking of video games, I absolutely say Captain Anderson, the Mass Effect trilogy. I only played the first one and it's so long ago, so I absolutely trust Eli on that one, but seems to track.
Yeah, I do not know those video games. I watched a friend play it for an hour and that was it.
That's my view on Elder Scrolls. I just watched Matt Key play for a day. We're hanging at his house. Yeah, it looks good. Looks good.
Well, I'm more than happy to continue discussing other Jedi, but we've got some other questions as well coming in here. Ken, do you want to grab a couple of those?
Absolutely. Molly Damon checking in here. Hello, Molly. And hello, Alex. Given an unlimited budget, how would you choose to display your action figure collection? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's big. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, I've thought about this a lot. I want it to be like a library. Like I wanted a separate room in a home, which I have a 1-bedroom apartment, so that's not happening here. So I need somewhere to sleep. I would love to build like nice wooden displays where it was like you're in a toy store made of beautiful wood. Where you would have like spinner racks with the figures hanging on them so you could rotate. You would have nice wooden displays where hooks came out and you could maybe hang 3 or 4 deep and you could rotate who was in front. So, because I love keeping a lot of them in the package so that you could have it be like it's a toy store at home that you can go and rotate. Then I would have some in more traditional shelves and some maybe like displays for the ones that I've taken out of the package, some little dioramas, but just that idea of walking into a beautiful old wooden library that's built to display action figures in their package is like heaven to me.
That's great. It's different, slightly different what you're saying, but like the idea of like just building a toy store in your back garage where you just the wall of Kenner from the 80s is there and you could just go relive it in a way. But I love what you're talking about. And I love seeing, a lot of people who do have some wonderful displays and the shelving and the lighting and even like Alex and Molly and some of the background stuff of their videos. I love that kind of stuff. But if I had the unlimited funds and also the unlimited space, you kind of mentioned the word diorama is the key. This harkens back to when I was a kid. I don't know if they continue to do them or if it's not something I have seen ever again. But as a kid, I lived near South Coast Plaza, I think it was, in Costa Mesa, big giant mall. And about once a year, the Lego would come and take over just a giant section of the mall. And I'm like 5 or 6. We moved out of that area when I was about 7, so around that age, we'd go, and I can't explain. Yeah, I'm tinier, literally tinier. But imagine just going to a mall and just working Lego, space Lego, town, whatever, dioramas with things going and ships flying, and just as far as the eye, kid's eye could see, right? Just like, whoa. And that's my
Oh,
wonder and love of Lego grew. So I love that stuff. And when I had my GI Joe collections, I still have some. I found them. I have like photos, like actual 3x5 photos that were developed, where I would take my Joes out to the backyard and shoot action shots.
mm,
So I think that's the way I would do it. I would just have a giant museum type of space in my
oh.
first floor of my 13th floor mansion, and it would just be Legos. It would be Star Wars, and you see a lot of that on display when you go to conventions and stuff. And I love them. And I always do the slow walk past it. That's what I'd want.
Yeah. Yeah. People are very excited about all of these sort of museum
Yes, sir.
ideas. Molly
Mhm.
is clarifying that we're trying to figure out how to display more of our collection. Definitely not an unlimited budget, lol, but looking for ideas. The practical version of it for me is right next to where I'm sitting right now. Got a tall bookshelf, and I have a bunch of them in their packages packed into the shelves as storage, and then on the front layer I have the ones that are facing out, and so I rotate them. And like I was trying to take a
Mhm.
picture of it. I don't know if I can get it to actually show up on screen with the ring.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the front of my bookshelf with my
Mm.
current Attack of the Clones display, and then
Mm.
eventually I will rotate them out and put a different theme display. So kind of masking the just straightforward storage with a line of display is what I'm
Mm.
practically doing right now.
Love that. Yeah. It's a problem. It's a problem. Space.
Such a beautiful problem.
Beautiful. Beautiful problem. uh. Yeah, yeah. Ken Plume said, yeah, all the ships and flying displays, constantly zipping about, plus large play table setup for photo shoots. Yeah, the photo shoots. And Ken takes great photos on his socials of his figures, too. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I need a better photo display because I love the what Ken does, and that would be fun to take more photos.
Hmm.
And we have this nice super chat that kind of segues into this, Ken, and what you were talking about with your Lego. Thank you, Lauren, for the kind super chat. No monetary space, creative limits. What is your dream Star Wars Lego set?
Um, Gosh, I mean, I still have the Death Star set in the box right up there. Last year, I kind of publicly sold a lot of my big Lego sets because of reality, and I held on to that one. I still have. I should probably sell it. I probably need to sell it this month. It's that type of month. I'm holding on to it because that Death Star is still my dream set, and I
Hmm.
love it. But if I was to go beyond that, and I don't, this it wouldn't be a diorama, but I would want the Senate pod, like the pod of the Senate chamber.
Ooh, yeah.
So you'd almost, it'd be a pretty boring set to display just as built because you'd have to have, it's like, what is this, just a big Lego toadstool in this? What is this? But you could crack it open, right? Just crack it open. You got all the pods, all the unlimited minifigs. You got the center, you got Masamita, Palpatine there, and
ET. Yep.
ET, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You have Mace and Yoda in a corner, just kind of looking over things, going, Have Jar Jar, so you can do the Dello Felicate scene. I want that.
Yeah, Padme up in there, Bail. Yeah. I want to say something like absolutely huge because that's the
Mm.
the spirit of it. I don't have room for any Legos because I don't have room for my action figures. So if I had Lego room, the first one that jumps to my mind is Kenobi's hut.
Mm.
There's something about it, like I would love to just
Hmm.
move my one little
Hmm.
Obi-Wan
Yeah,
Lego around and have him. Oh, today he's cooking. Oh, look, he's sitting back reading a book. Oh, he's looking
uh,
in the crate of the lightsabers and thinking of the past. Oh, he's at the desk writing his little journals for Luke. Like it's just so
yeah,
peaceful.
yeah. I think I have the one they have. It's a smaller set, and I'm close to getting rid of all my minifigs and stuff. So babe, if I stumble onto that, I'll make sure you have it. It's
Okay.
not what you're describing as detailed, but you could at least move them around a little bit.
Yeah. Molly says a Buffy library set would be her Lego. A lot of
Mm.
people are discussing the museum approach to toy display.
Yeah.
I really like that many people are into it. JMB is joking. Do you have like a rotation like museum September 1st to December 15th?
Mm.
Battles of Hoth and Endor at the museum. I don't keep it up as often as I would like, but actually I did actually do that with I really love this line of Marvel retro figures 3.75 that they sadly canceled. But I had a different display out, and I I rotated the front of it for Captain American Weekend and put Captain America and Falcon and other
Yeah.
characters out front. So
Yeah. It's like changing the end cap at a store, right? You're just
yeah,
seasonal changes.
yeah, absolutely.
Love that. Molly wants the new UCS Ewok Village. This is a more detailed set. Ken Plume wants Jabba's throne room, but with a minifig for every single character we see. I love that. That is great as well. Looking at some other questions here. We got JMB checking in. Your guys' favorite non-Force user. That could be. Maybe we make it a Star Wars ranked one of these days. But a lot of options there. Easy one for me, quick one would be, of course, Han Solo. But we were just talking about preview of tomorrow's episode. We had some conversations about Infus Nest. Love Infus Nest. Dying to have more of Infus Nest. Kira. I mean, a lot of Solo options come up. Everyone knows I love Admiral Raddus. Love Raddus. I wish he had the Force. He doesn't need the Force. He's got Raddus. He's got himself.
Yeah, Kira is up there as a favorite character. It's been nice to have lots of reasons to talk about her and think about the character in the last couple of weeks of recording. The wonderful Tech. Tech is super high up there for me as a favorite character. Man, I could go on and on about Tech, and I have in the past. We were going to do a little bit more essay-like videos.
Yeah.
Incredible amount of work put into the one essay I did on Tech and didn't get the greatest views. But if you'd like to check it out on my feelings of why I love Tech, I mean it's so hard because there's so many great Star Wars characters, but that one that's a non-Force user that jumps to mind.
Yeah, it's a great answers in chat. Share at Mway. Force appreciative, I guess we could say. But this was sorry. I thought this was Neil's also an answer for this question, but also Neil's bubble bath as a Lego set. Absolutely there.
I thought maybe his bubble bath was sentient, and I didn't know that bit of trivia.
KG agrees with your tech, my boy. A lot of the Bad Batch could Crosshair, especially what ended up happening. Yeah, I'd be on board for that. Quad phase has to be Jar Jar. Yeah, over the years, my love of Jar Jar has only grown, and what he represents in Star Wars, and our love and appreciation for Ahmed Best. So he's not the Dark Jedi that everyone maybe wanted him to be, unless you look at the Lego special. But Jar Jar's a great answer.
Yeah. Hey, Din, Boba. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. We got this one here from Osvetnik, and we're here for about 15, 20 more minutes, folks. If you got a question, super chat, get him in now. Osvetnik, Ethan says this. Hey, Force-Sitter, question. SNL 50 was last night. Do you have a favorite SNL Star Wars moment? And which Star Wars character would be the best cast member host? Hope you all doing well. I did watch SNL 50 last night. I thought it was actually really good. I had a lot of fun watching it there. For me, there's a lot of great moments over the years. I mean, just Carrie Fisher hosting back in the day, all those kind of things. But the one that jumps to mind, it was the Taron Killam, Mikey Day, Bobby Moynihan kind of series. And they're the ones that gave us the undercover boss stuff with Kylo Ren, which I thought was great. It is wonderful. But they did like that commercial kind of parody with like the adult collecting toy phenomenon and all the Star Wars toys. And it's really honest and it's real. It's real. And I had a chance to interview Bobby Moynihan over on the Jedi Council days, and we talked about that thing. And he was like, "Yeah, those are all mine. Those are like my toys." that sketch was real. And just his joy for Star Wars coming through. And I just love that moment because it felt on a scale. It felt the nerds being represented on a scale that hadn't been represented before. I've told the story before, writing a sketch back in the day in the Groundlings that had me with a lightsaber and love of action figures in Star Wars, and it was completely, even I had to play it as right what a horrible dumb nerd who would this is an outcast liking Star Wars and toys, and that's changed, and to see it on SNL in that way was one of my favorite things.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I think I didn't watch the 50th anniversary special. I have been a little detached from Saturday Night Live.
Same,
I've caught a little bit here and there. It was so formative to me. I so loved it, and my formative years were Dana Carvey and Phil Hartman and Chris Farley and Mike Myers. In that kind of late 80s, early 90s era. And I totally agree that I think the general quality of Saturday Night Live has been around the same for all 50 years. And then people get attached in it. It's the same conversation of my Star Wars was good when I saw it when I was 13. My pop music was the best when I heard it when I was 13. And I think for me, sometimes it's like, I wouldn't watch it and go, it's bad and mine was better. I just don't enjoy it as much because for me it is a little frozen in that time, and it's no judgment on the quality or anybody else's favorite from any other era. It's just my personal experience that it's a weird kind of time travel that I don't get a lot out of.
I understand.
So I'm not super connected to SNL, and not to be a bummer, but they have I don't think the episodes with Trump and Musk are gonna age well. And then it was clear who those men were when they were invited onto that stage. In the end, I will stop that for now. Anyway, answers the questions. My answer to anybody comedy in character in Star Wars is just always Princess Leia, because Princess Leia carried Carrie Fisher's wit. So I would love to see Princess Leia host SNL. My favorite Star Wars moment, there was, I think it was Luke Perry hosting in the early 90s. And there was a bit with Phil Hartman as Obi-Wan Kenobi, appearing as a ghost and whispering to Luke Perry, because his name was Luke. I know it was a Luke joke, and I think it was Luke Perry. I could be wrong. But Phil Hartman as Obi-Wan is just whispering very non-Obi-Wan things. Somebody giving him trouble in the audience, I think, and he says, kick his ass and take his wallet. Luke, kick his ass and take his wallet. And I love that, and I repeated it at school the next day, but I got it flipped in my head. So I said, hey, I loved it when Obi-Wan said, kick his wallet and take his ass. And everyone laughed at me for getting it wrong, so it sticks in my head.
That's great. I kind of remember that. Yeah, vague. As far as hosts, there's some great answers. Lando came up a lot. You'd want someone like that. But I also am obsessed with the bad hosts. Not like the what you're talking about bad choices, but the hosts that are like out of their element and out of their depths, usually the sports stars, unless it's like Peyton Manning or when The Rock came on. So I would love Boba Fett to host, but as we see him in the Book of Boba Fett, where he just would be kind of stiff and reading the cue cards and just kind of not getting the humor and not, and just but being game to try anything. That's who I'd want to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Great answers. Great answers. And while we're talking about Saturday Night Live, everybody in the chat is having a great and insightful discussion about season 3 of The Mandalorian.
I see that. Yes, absolutely. Figure report, check it again. Yeah, representation matters in a lot of ways, but even nerds in comedy, which thankfully has changed over the decades. Yes.
Yep.
We go.
Tech would be a good host. Says Maddie. I agree. He would be hilarious.
And there'd be one of those episodes where he does the monologue and all like anytime someone from Cheers hosted and the other cast members would show up at a Q&A or cameo fashion, so all the batch would be there. Yeah. Wrecker would be having a lot of fun, but Hunter would just kind of be, what am I doing here?
Yeah, Hunter would eventually throw a knife at the cue cards, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Gaz Nottingham checking in here. Says, question, Ranked was brilliant last week. Thank you. I wanted to ask, what would you describe as the best background weirdo from the 77 to 85 action figure line? Mine would be Monomon or Zuckus. Yeah, what background weirdo?
Yeah, I think for me, Dengar's way up there. The action figure was good. And, you collect the action figure, you read the comics, or get the trading cards back in the day, and hey, Dengar, he was one of the bounty hunters. Cool. Dengar's barely on that film. I kind of made this argument about Bosk, but Dengar's even more like
Yeah, correct.
No one would know in a modern Star Wars film. There would not be a whole cult of Dengar. There wouldn't be people out there with Dengar tattoos and strong Dengar opinions. So I think he's one of the best. And then toward the end of the line, the Imperial dignitaries, who are also just not in the film for a blip, right? And really represent that ethos of make them all. Because I mean, hey, look, Vader, Han, Leia, stormtroopers, Boba Fett, like great. Kids' imaginations will be fired for days. Hey, kids. Wrinkled, creepy old cult man that you don't know anything about in purple. Hours of fun and imagination. Like, I think the spirit of a background weirdo who you're like, hey, kids, you're going to have to make it up because what the hell is this guy about is so great.
Those are some great choices there. Yeah. Imperial dignitary, you know, I mean, when you consider no Tarkin at any point, no Mon Mothma, no Beru or Owen, you know, for a series that has a series of figures that has a correct reputation of all things represented, those big whiffs right there. But that you got Imperial dignitary, and this is going back to the Jedi Alliance days when you and I were on joking on it, but just that name too. We all laugh about, you know, Squid Face and Yak Face and Hammerhead and Walrus Man, but Imperial dignitary. Here, kid. Do you want this? No, I don't want this. But yet I wanted it.
I did. Creepy, cool.
Yeah, Amado Man is great. Yak Face comes up a lot in my choices. Just any of those. Yeah, Dengar's a great choice because I think you're right. Time has placed him more prominently in that film than he actually was. I'm on the page. I'm scrolling up here. It came with a play set, but I do love that there's a Dianoga.
Oh, yeah.
And I think at some point, a friend of mine, my buddy Mike Beatrice, maybe gave me his. I have it somewhere in a box somewhere. I'm pretty sure.
You can buy them separately on eBay, and I think they're 3D printed copies and that. So yeah.
There you go. Great, love that.
And Gaz, who asked this question, says, I recently obtained the Imperial dignitary figure for 45 pounds. Don't tell my wife.
It's a good get.
I understand.
Yeah, that's a good get. Going back to the favorite character, non-Jedi, non-Star Wars character as a Jedi, Patton Stewart, says, does Bruce Wayne's exceptional willpower override the pull to the dark side that he would definitely feel? Ooh. Yeah.
I think there are many interpretations of Batman, and I think in many of them he is a Jedi. I think Adam West, Batman, is a Jedi. He even follows the parking rules. I think that I have not rewatched the recent the Batman film because it's 3 hours and it's hard to find the time.
Yeah.
If it was 2 hours and 27 minutes, I'd probably have to rewatch it again. I don't want to spoil anything about that, but that film reignited my Batman fandom because I think that film is Batman as a Jedi.
Okay.
Explicitly.
I'll find the 3 hours spread out over a couple weeks and finally watch it.
Yeah.
Quadface asks, thanks for the super chat. 2 Quadface here, and we're here for a couple more minutes, folks. Could a traveling food show work with Crosshair and Wrecker instead of a doc? Yeah, absolutely. Wrecker is a perfect food show host. The lack of pretension, but the desire to taste things and respect all who are serving him food. It'd be a great combination.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Because Record would be eating everything, and Tech would probably be like analyzing the spices to determine exactly. I would love to see Tech and Wrecker on Hot Ones would be great.
Well, both have more personality than the host, so let's do it.
We'll throw this one in there real quick, not to get away from Ken's thoughts. Cameron Stewart, I think Hera might have to be one of my favorite non-Force sensitive characters. I just also really Hera is a great pull. Great pull.
Yes, absolutely love that there. Yeah, and just Cameron Stewart also says shout out to Geode, whose silence speaks volumes. Absolutely. Geode, one of the all-timers there.
Mhm.
Wonderful, wonderful there. Got that one there. Oh, you start one from Marjo.
Mhm.
Oh, did I
Oh, that
unstart
oop,
accidentally?
yeah, where did it
Oh,
go?
here it is. Here it is.
Yeah. As a comic nerd, Hulk number 180 is my the number one. What's your the one? Ken, I know you have collected comic books on and off. Were you a big comic book kid? You got some,
Only,
right?
yeah, only for GI Joe and Transformers and Robotech. Yeah,
Mm.
only. I didn't get to other things though. I did I did have the hyper real. I think it was Larry Hama. It was the GI Joe comic creator. It was just called Nam, and it was a Vietnam comic. And I had it because GI Joe, and I just don't think my parents, who were so like, my mom would go in that comic shop and like grill the kid working the desk about like who you were and what is the devil in these pages and all these kind of things. Like I hid, the GI Joe team had a little boat called the Devilfish, and I hid when it was unveiled in the comics. I hid it from my mom because I didn't want her to. We called deviled eggs angel eggs in our house. Okay, that's what and that was
Mhm.
not an option. That was what we called them. But yet I had like several issues of Nam, which was very adult and very serious.
There was this big turn in, I'd say late 70s, but definitely 80s, and definitely as the Watchmen and the Dark Knight started to come out and all that, where uh, I think parents really did just still think it was like 1950s, like, oh no, Batman's cape turned yellow, and Robin's got eggs for feet, and we'll fix it in just like silly, dopey fun. My mother really went through a shift, and she never tried to take Star Wars away from us because it was blasters, but like
Mm-hmm.
she started to think Transformers is too close to actual guns. GI Joe was an absolute no, and she
Mm-hmm.
had no idea the sex and violence that I was in adult themes that I was reading in those comic books of the 80s and the 90s. Man, yeah,
Yeah.
I learned a lot,
Yeah.
including some big words from Dr. Doom. Um, I collected comics
Mm-hmm.
intensely. It was a choice. I learned about math. That was my first practical application of math, of what's my allowance, how many comics can I
Mm-hmm.
collect
Mm-hmm.
per month. But my real the first one I collected on purpose was the 80s Teen Titans run with Marv Wolfman and George Perez. And Robin had always been one of my favorite characters because I've talked about many times. My brother and I divided things up, and he was Spock and I was Kirk, and he was Han and I was Luke. He was Batman, I was Robin, but I really
Mm-hmm.
related to Robin because Robin was the younger one who was still capable. So I loved Robin. I loved Dick Grayson. And in that Titans run, he gives up the mantle of Robin because he's done being in Batman's shadow and wants to become his own man. And it's in a famous four issue arc, but longer than that, of the Judas Contract. Titans are all captured. The only one who's managed to escape is Dick Grayson, who has no costume, no superhero identity, and no superpowers, just his wits. And he's the only one who escapes the trap. And there's an issue, Tales of Teen Titans, number 44, called "There Shall Come a Titan." And
Mm-hmm.
it's the issue where he takes on the mantle of Nightwing, and
Oh.
I get chills thinking about it to this day. And I bought
Mm.
that from the corner newsstand in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and still own my original copy.
That's great. Yeah, my relationship with the comics is pretty strong to the comics I had, but like I don't have that one issue because it was, there's some very famous GI Joe issues, the silent issue with Snake Eyes. I don't think I actually own that. So it's just ones I was glad I had because you're talking. I love that you're talking about the allowance thing. My allowance was very small, and looking back, my parents weren't rich, and they actually years later I discovered they hid a lot of their financial struggles from kids in a good way. I mean that in a
Mm,
good way. So my allowance was like 50 cents at a time when like comics got to like 50 cents each. Then I campaigned for 75. Like, hey, well, Randall and Fletcher got $1. Can I get 75? Well, you got to do more chores. We got to teach you, and my parents are both anti-union, so I couldn't rally with Fletcher and Randall. We couldn't approach the parents as a collective bargain. I had to beg. So I got up to 75 cents. But by around that time, comics went up to about 75 cents an issue. Baseball cards, which I was also collecting. So I had to go every week and figure out which one comic I could get. So often it was like my Robotech connection is like issue 1, 3, 7, 9, 13. Like just and then the G.I. Joe was 2, 6. So I just was happy to have the ones. I don't have the wonderful story you just told. I don't have that. I just have. I'm glad I have any.
I'm glad I have any. Yeah. No, I understand. I understand. My dad worked hard and did not have much money at all, and we didn't go on trips. We did not have fine things. As I said before, we didn't have a VCR until my brother got mad and got a job at Dairy Queen to get a damn VCR. But they, I think, saw the amount of solace in our otherwise difficult life that things like comic books gave us. So there was collective bargaining.
Great stuff. I mean, I remember that day. All right, we're gonna give you 75 cents. Like, whoo, that was it. Jared, the TIE fighter pilot, says any Power Ranger could Jedi it up. Yeah, I think that's a good observation. Not super familiar with the Power Ranger world, but I think that would work. That would work.
Yeah, a lot of great comic book thoughts. Will Dixon says Spider-Man and Cerebus for me. That is absolutely great. Amaranth says, I'm obsessed with Killian Plunkett's style today. I have been looking at his covers for Star Wars and Droids all day. That's really cool. Jared says, my first comic was Spawn #1. Amazing.
Yeah. Sorry,
Where did you go?
No, it's I'll tell you after. It's a real world thing. I was trying to get to the figure thing to double check something, and some alert just came up. That is tragic, but makes me laugh. Anyways, okay. Real world. Moving on. Sorry. Any other questions that we got going on here? This is fun. We love doing this. Now regular here on Mondays. We appreciate that. Ken Plume says this: I can't zero in on my first issue, but one of the first to make an impact me was secondhand copy of Fantastic Four 258, featured Dr. Doom's hand tearing the cover, exposing the splash beneath. I think I kind of remember that one.
Yeah.
I think going to the shop, because I go to the shop every week in downtown Arroyo Grande Village. Go to the shop every week, so I'd see the covers, just wouldn't get them.
I think this is it's a horror that has never been corrected when the comics went to direct sales, and they're not individual issues at the corner drugstore at 7-Eleven. Because like to this day, I don't know how they do it. 7-Eleven has a very specific smell, and it isn't just convenience store or gas station. There's something. I don't know if it's their special wieners, whatever their big gulp drinks are, whatever it is. There's a 7-Eleven smell, and to this day, when I walk in, I get happy because, like, maybe they have the issue of Secret Wars that I'm missing. That's what that smell means to me. And I wish people could still. The graphic novels at Barnes and Noble is great. People get the whole story, but the issue-to-issue comic was great. Indeed.
Well, I think that's it. I think we've done it. Trying to keep these questions to an hour here so we can get out of your lives and get on with ours as well. We appreciate you swinging through here and checking on things. As always, do want to remind you that the podcast is brought to you in part by Audible. You can go get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/forcecenter. audibletrial.com/forcecenter really does help us out. Check out Patreon as well at patreon.com/forcecenter. And thanks for the super chats. Very generous as always here today. You can find us on social media, especially Blue Sky at Force Center Podcast. A couple spots for merch. If you're watching on YouTube, we got a Fourth Wall shop down below. We'll be adding some stuff there. So we maybe kind of transition off of TeePublic because, much like my parents, they are not increasing our allowance in a time when you need it. Find me at Catnapsock or my website, catnapsock.com. Not selling comics on there yet, but now I have an idea. But anyways, you sir.
Yeah. Someday I will. I gotta dive into my collection because some of my comics are getting valuable these days. I just want to throw this up. One last question as we head out the door from Arwix. I just saw Captain America: Brave New World. I liked it a lot. It's obviously not perfect, but it slaps. Love the fight scenes. Did both of you see it yet? And I talk about this a little bit on our news show that'll be coming out tomorrow, Tuesday. I did see it this weekend, and I really enjoyed it. I agree with some of the criticisms. I think the script's got the dialogue could be a little sparklier, and I think all the characters' intentions and the themes are great, but maybe it could have been a little more laser focused. But a big picture, I really enjoyed it. I thought the fight scenes were great, and I think Sam Wilson is a Jedi, and I want to encourage people to go check it out for themselves and not just listen to the reviews, because I think it's a good film, and I think the message of the film is important, and I think people should give it a chance for themselves if you're at all interested in the MCU.
So, I agree with that.
You can find me on Blue Sky and on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. That's it.
That's it. We've answered the Star Wars questions. See you next time. Bye.